In progress.
Alright, alright. Bonjour, bonjour. Kumusta va? Live from Paris. Marami tayong pag-usapan in this very sunny and beautiful day. Kasama po natin is no less than the greatest former Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Retired din. Parang justice para ka ng mga military people na in-emphasize yung retired kasi baka mamaya ma-court martial or something. Is that the reason, Justice?
Yeah, I have to, because if you are a sitting justice, you cannot be doing this. You cannot be.
Naman lumalakas yung yung lumalaki yung retired plies, parang it reminds you of these generals. Hindi, I'm retired baka mamaya ma-court martial ako or ma-declaration of war tayo. Justice Carpio, since andito ako sa Europe ngayon, simula muna tayo sa ating favorite topic of the day. Mukhang may update kay Harry Roque, no? Doon sa kanyang kaso. Kasi sinasabi niya, itong kaso na lumabas sa kanya, warrant of arrest sa Pilipinas, this is just another sign of his persecution daw by the Philippine government. Ang DOJ naman nagsabi, they're gonna ask Interpol, kasi wala naman tayong extradition, di ba? They're gonna ask Interpol to help. So Justice Carpio, as a retired former Associate Justice, what is your read of ang kalagayan ni Harry? Dapat ba harapin niya? Kasi si Panelo sabi niya, umuwi siya, harapin niya. At yung sabi naman ni Clarita Carlos, kung totoo siyang, if he's a real man, mali pala, if he's matapang, he should come back and face it. I'm sorry about that, Justice. What is your read?
Well, yeah, I think he has to face the case because it's very serious. It's qualified trafficking, and the penalty is lifetime imprisonment.
Right.
I mean, physical lifetime, no? Kasi this is an exception to the general rule, plus 2 to 5 million of fine.
Oh, wow.
So it is rather a very serious case. So, and I think he will have a problem and face the charges now.
I'm being very careful with what I say. I mean, maybe best thing for him to come here to Paris and have some good time, the City of Lights. So, speaking of Harry Roque, he's in the news again kasi ang dami niya mga pinagsasabi dyan sa case ni Ma'am Leila. Diba? At nagalit si Attorney Dino De Leon who was on this show also. Sabi niya, ano bang moral ascendancy ng tao to? Umuwi ka muna bago ka mag-hanash. Let's speak about Ma'am Leila De Lima because you have the Court of Appeals, I don't know how to even put it, nullification, reconsideration of at least one of the 3 major cases that got her acquitted. Just for the facts of the case, what are we talking about here, Justice Carpio? I want also your retired Justice Carpio perspective on this.
Well, I think if this is appealed event, well, it will be eventually appealed by Leila to the Supreme Court after the MR. I think the first issue is this is already subject to double jeopardy.
Exactly.
Because she pleaded not guilty, the trial proceeded, they presented evidence, there's a decision. So, double jeopardy already attached, no? And she cannot be tried twice for the same offense.
Right.
And there is an exception to this rule if there is grave abuse of discretion. So, that's why the Solicitor General Guevara used that ground, grave abuse of discretion. But in all the previous cases where grave abuse of discretion was used successfully, the prosecutor was either cooperated or connived with the defense, or the prosecutor was not allowed to present its evidence. Ito, there can be no connivance. Second, the prosecutor presented all his says and very limited because this is a very difficult, this is exceptional, no? Because double jeopardy is a constitutional right. So to get out of that, to not to apply that, it has to be a very exceptional. There must be grave abuse. That means there was no due process really. But here, they were all allowed to present. The prosecutors had all the time. And they completed their presentation of evidence and witnesses. So, mahirap yung ground nila. It's really a very steep mountain to climb. Secondly, I've been pointing this out. The charge is conspiracy to trade in illegal drugs. The number one requirement in trading of illegal drugs or selling illegal drugs like shabu is you must present the corpus delicti, the body of the crime. In other words, saan yung shabu?
Right,
Ipipresent muna dapat yon. And
right,
then there is a forensic report of the chemist of the PNP that shabu talaga ito.
right.
Hindi to sugar, shabu. Wala silang presenta eh. They did
Right.
not present the body of the crime, the corpus delicti, and they did not present the forensic report. And there is also a third report, the chain of custody. Dapat yan, you can show that from the
May
moment
connection.
the shabu was seized, it was delivered to the headquarters, kept in the custody of the custodian of these illegal drugs, and then sent to the forensic officer for evaluation, sent back, and in fact, the forensic officer should testify na talagang ano yan, shabu. But here, nakakagulat, they keep on saying you traded illegal drugs, pero saan
Yeah.
yung drug na yun? It's like you accuse somebody of murder, pero you cannot prove that somebody died because you cannot present the body of the dead person or the death certificate and the autopsy made by the police, no? So, doon na lang, that's the second ground I say that they should be dismissed at in the first place, they should not have gone to all this trial because wala silang presentang drugs.
Right.
You are being accused of selling illegal drugs, but they did not present the 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 object of the crime. So I think this will really be dismissed by the Supreme Court.
Um, Justice, without casting aspersions, since retired ka naman, is this throwing sands into the wheel? Kasi parang many people said, wala tayong sinasabi, Justice Carpio, of course, di ba? Many people they say na dahil ito yung mga, you were talking about people who work with Duterte, appointed by Duterte, close to Duterte, and the timing, kasi election to, and Leila just won for ML party and said to join the prosecution against Sara Duterte. Do you think it's important for these courts? Ayan, nakakapi ka na, Justice. You don't have to battle that question, but do you think do you think there has to be an effort to dispel any aspersions na lang para lang walang bahit na duda? What should the Court of Appeals do or what should happen next para wala nang ganyan mga spekulasyon, di ba? Para lang clear tayo.
Well, they will have to do what they want to do. They'll probably deny the motion for reconsideration, and this goes up. That's the process. There are many cases like this. Umabot sa Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you're convicting him of trade in illegal drugs. Where are the drugs?
Right.
I mean, you did not present it in court. So, are you sure these are drugs or in this asukal ito? So, they don't have a forensic report.
Yeah.
That's essential in a drug case. Yeah, how many times na sinasabi ng Supreme Court, when I was there, we always say, you have to present the shabu and the forensic report
Right.
that this is really shabu. So, kasi sinabi nila, illegal drug. How do you know that it's illegal drug? You have to prove it. The prosecution must prove it's illegal drug by proving it by the report of the forensic report of the chemist. Wala silang ganyan eh. Kaya very strange ito. In fact, when this went to the Supreme Court, that's what I wrote in my dissent. Sabi ko, they're filing these cases, pero wala silang ina-allege na nakahuli sila they were able to seize the illegal drugs, no? And there is no forensic report. So how you must be certain that it is a drug.
Right.
So I think this will easily be dismissed by the Supreme Court.
But before speaking of Supreme Court, from a technical standpoint, Justice Carpio, is there a way for the RTC court to rephrase or kind of repackage the decision so that hindi na kailangan umakyat to sa Supreme Court? Or technically speaking, this really has to go to the Supreme Court na kasi hindi na
Well,
ma-resolve ng
I
RTC yan?
think the lawyers of Laila will bring it if the motion for reconsideration before the CA is denied. They'll bring it. They will not allow this to be brought back, remanded. No, they'll bring this all the way to the Supreme Court. Kasi the requirement naman lang sa Constitution, the decision must state the facts and the law on which the decision is based. Andiyan naman yung facts.
Right.
Sinite naman yung law. Ang gusto nila, i-explain mo the relationship. Wala namang ganyan eh. State the facts and the law on which it is based. Yung why that recantation, what was recanted, ano na yan eh. Of course, if you're thorough, you write it, but minimum requirement is state the law and the facts on which the decision, state the facts rather, and the law on which the decision is based.
Right.
Hindi naman sabi na gumawa ka ng Magnus, you write a 100-page
Magnum
masterpiece,
opus.
no?
Magnum opus, yeah.
Magnum opus.
Ano sabi niya? Sabi niya, para siyang literary criticism daw, review na baka kandahan natin ng ano natin. Is this unprecedented? Have you seen something like this, Justice, in the past? From your memory, your institutional memory, if I can put it that way?
Yeah, this case of grave abuse of discretion to
Reverse or to...
reverse the double jeopardy, so that double jeopardy will is very rare. I can
Very,
remember
exactly,
only
yun
two
nga.
cases.
Exactly.
Very rare. I can only in the 18 years I was in the court, I can remember only two cases.
What can you share those two cases just for people
Well,
to...
it was because the prosecutor really looked like he connived with the defense. No? Talagang pinabayaan yung kaso.
Talagang lantaran talaga yung abuso.
It has to be very very patent. Very
Brazen,
obvious.
yeah. Brazen even, yeah. Brazen
Kasi
and
simply
craven.
naman ang requirement, state the facts and the law on which the decision is based. Pag you state the facts and you state the law,
Yeah.
I mean, hindi naman kailangan perfect yung decision mo eh.
Right. Sige, Justice, before we make more away dun sa mga ibang people there. I mean, why is Guevara even there? I don't get it. Bakit nandyan pa si Guevara? Is this consuelo ni BBM? I mean, BBM, by the way, just said dun sa kanyang podcast interview, na unahan pa ako ni Toning, na he wants to be friends pa rin naman daw with the DDS. Like, ano ba yan? Consuelo niya. Anong pag-intindi natin for Guevara to still be there? Parang ayaw mo yata sumagot, Justice. Sige, never mind.
Well, we will see because there are two cases where he said that he said in the surrender of former President Duterte, he refused to represent the government. No?
Kaya so ano siya ngayon? Ano siya? Freelancer? He's a freelancing
Tignan
float.
natin paano i-decide, no?
Yeah,
Ng
that's
Supreme Court.
quite an interesting. Because critics would say he's still doing damage, right? Parang he's floating. I don't know what is his status right now, but he's still, spinning things in a certain direction. At least the accusation would be. Now, Justice, let's go to the big question now. What is your read of the elections? Because mukhang maling-mali si Ronald Llamas. So apparently, Bam and Kiko were so safe after all. They did amazing. And tama pala yung mga consumer sentiment, nakita ko na up to 21% of voters decide actually on election day, and I suppose that happened with a lot of Gen Z young voters who were majority. And the reason I'm asking that is because one of your colleagues at One Sambayan, Commissioner Heidi Mendoza, I had her on this show before the elections. And she was saying na parang, nasasayangan siya na yung idea ng one sambayan, hindi nag-fully crystallize, coming together. Of course, you know what's the implication here, Justice, di ba? The implication here is kung sana nagsama-sama more itong mga like-minded candidates, if Heidi Mendoza had more logistical mobilization support, kasi ang taas ng conversion rate niya from awareness to preference. Maybe Heidi could have made it. I mean, Mark Oleta, number 6. That was like shocking. If Mark Oleta could make it, I think Heidi could make it too, di ba? Considering Bam was number 2, Kiko was number 5. So yes, we can blame surveys and Ronald Llamas, but sana, di ba, we took more chances with more candidates kasi numbers game to eh. I mean, it's great that Bam is 2 and Kiko is 5, but they're just 2 votes. Eh di sana tatlong vote. Sabi nga, sana si Trillanes di na lang tumakbong Caloocan, nag-senador na lang siya. But that's a long conversation. I think he did something valiant and I appreciate for him. Ikaw, Justice, what is your read of it? Was this a big surprise victory? Was this a mixed picture? Was this like a good victory that we still have to build on? What is your read?
Well, it was a very pleasant surprise for me na mataas si Bam and Kiko, no, because all the surveys showed that they were just below the 12
Yeah, exactly.
slot, or si
Kapit lang.
Bam was fighting for the 12 slot
Yeah.
with 4 or 6 others. So, yung pala, ang taas niya, no? And also Kiko. So, I think there's something wrong with the polling. That's one. Second, the significance of this is why pa ang opposition, the real opposition, is still alive.
Right.
And I think this augurs well for 2028.
Right.
We're very hopeful that in 2028 there will be more votes for the real opposition. Maglalaban yung dalawang political dynasties, and I think in 2028 the center, the moderates, those who are against political dynasties might win, no? And so I think in
Right.
2028 there will be more people like Bam and Kiko who will run, having seen how successful the two were, no, in this last election. So I think it gives hope to the real opposition to prepare for 2028.
Baka Justice, pwede ka na sumama with Heidi sa next. Baka pati si Ronald, isama na natin, go na tayo. But,
Well, I was telling Heidi.
Yes.
That I was telling Heidi na si Risa, it took her 3 runs
Right.
to make it. I think she ran 3 times to finally make it. I
And
think,
she had the
Heidi
backing
will feel
pa.
better.
And she had the backing pa. I think Heidi had even more limited resources and
So
machinery than
I think
Risa. Yeah.
Heidi, if she runs again, she'll finally make it, no? Because she has that awareness already and
Yeah.
very high conversion rate, no?
Right. Exactly. Which is very good news, and we can build on from there. Justice, as a legal expert, what do you think is the significance of Chel Jokno and Senator De Lima joining the prosecution team of the Congress, which is exactly what we were pushing for, right? Sabi ko nga dapat manalo ang akbayan at saka mga liberal dahil you want Chel and De Lima to be there, and then as suddenly, for all we know, dalawa rin natalo dun sa original team. So exactly yun ang nangyari. Parang the stars aligned. How important is to have Chel Jokno there? Because Chel Jokno was very confident na, yes, numbers game to. And let's be honest, right? If you're Duterte side, you feel good about your chances. In fact, you feel so good na baka hindi pa nga trial mangyari. As Sarah said, let's have a bloodbath. Because you have Bongo, you have Bato, you have Robin Hood, you have Marcoleta. I think these 4 are going to be strongly, at least tatlo dyan, expected strongly to go for Sara. And then there's Aimee, there's the curious case of Camille, and then probably half a dozen other senators who are, not in a mood to pick a fight with Duterte's because they have their own ambitions and their own seats to protect. So it looks like the DDS side is very confident. But Chel Jokno is also very confident. Is it because he feels that once lumabas yung mga baho or alleged allegations, the public sentiment will pressure the other senators to be honest about this? and that Sara may have 4 or 5 people behind her, but eventually, vast majority of senators will be forced to reckon with the facts of the case.
Yes, I think because the impeachment court will have the power to subpoena the bank accounts now for Duterte and the children, because the bank account of
Right.
Duterte was joint with the children. So if what Trillanes has been saying is true,
Yeah.
that will really turn the tide, I think. I mean, even the senators who are in favor of Sarah, we'll have to recalibrate, because when the evidence is there, they have a responsibility to the Filipino people. No? Pag tatanungin sila, bakit ganyan? Na kitang-kita ayaw mo pa rin. And even assuming if she will be acquitted, but with that kind of evidence,
Yeah.
she will be damaged good for 2028.
Which creates new interesting possibilities, because if you're Bongo, you got 27 million votes, right? And you felt you had your opening in 20. I mean, you're from Davao, you know this better than me, Justice, right? I mean, if you're Bongo right now, I won't blame you if you're saying maybe I should run for the president, right? So even if Sarah survives this, she might not be the most viable heir apparent, right?
Yeah, well, Bongo might, because she's number one. That's if you are number one in the Senate, then you are a possible, you're a presidential
Yeah,
already.
exactly, exactly. So that dynamic is an interesting dynamic that maybe Bongo will say, okay, yeah, Sarah didn't get impeached, but maybe this is my. I remember kasi kasabay ko siya dun sa TV5 interview after he won, and he was saying something like, parang malaking factor na hindi siya tumakbo nung 22 because Duterte had 90% approval. He was the preferred ganon. Well, he didn't really answer the question, but I think you could read in between the lines na basically sinabi niya na I did sit that one out for the purpose of unity of the House of Duterte, right? Oh, but now with him number one and doing so well, I mean, I won't be surprised. I mean, he has a good case to make. Now he's the heir apparent, or he should be the heir apparent, right?
Yeah, well, that will enter his mind, of course. And if Sarah is acquitted but crippled, then the more reason he would be running.
Exactly. And I think this is what people don't say. I've seen a lot of, yung mga biglang mga abogado naging expert bigla sa politics na sabi, tapos ng laban kasi numbers game to, ganun. Sabi ko, these people don't understand. May mga senador dyan na may conviction, right? May mga senador dyan na may pamilyang businesses, my family businesses na questionable, right? So I mean, let's be honest. Many arms could be twisted to create the numbers because many of people there inside Senate have skeletons in the closet. I mean, people don't understand how politics works, right? But then again, it depends on Marcos and people if they're willing to push the envelope, meaning to make sure some of the senators are honest and not just factotum. Having said that, Justice Carpio, how do you read the path ahead? Because you know technically speaking, the leader of the opposition is Rizal Ontiveros, and she was almost 100% successful, right? Her Akbayan party has had the best ever result ever, right? Number one. Duterte Youth just got disqualified, so even more interesting for Akbayan. Akbayan was even top 10 in Davao, interesting. And then, the nanalong ML, at least Leila de Lima, nanalo si Pam and Kiko in big time. But at the same time, Bam also is now suddenly being discussed as a potential presidential ball or vice presidential ball along with Lenny Robredo, another big winner. Now, obviously, they're all part of genuine opposition. All are sincere and good people. My observation though is I think they may not have necessarily the same reading of what is the message here, right? Because if I'm Rizon Tiveros, I'll say, okay, this shows that obviously you cannot be a purist ideologue, but you have to have conviction politics, push for a more social democratic progressive way forward. I mean, Riza won in 2016 and 2022 against all odds. So in short, must center left si Riza eh. But if you're Bam, for instance, or even Kiko to a certain degree, you would say maybe not. Maybe what we need is much more center than center left. Because if you look at Bam, the reason he did very well is because let's be honest, he didn't touch on the ICC issue that much. If at all, on the issue of Sara impeachment, we saw how he was more lawyerly than even you lawyers. So, Justice Carpio, lang, ang ganda nung ano niya, yung ganda nung non-answer niya, di ba? And even West Philippine Sea, right? No one really took up the cudgels. So that's a very different approach than, let's say, the Riza Ontiveros approach. Because if you look at Riza Ontiveros, and even in 2022, forget about 2016, she was very consistent on EJK, human rights, West Philippine Sea issue, and still won. Not as big as BAM. So doesn't that raise questions of maybe there will be different understanding of how the opposition should move forward, and that suddenly now maybe BAM should be seen as the leader of the opposition, or Lenny and BAM together, that tandem rather than Risa. Do you get what I'm saying, Justice? Maybe sasabihin na naman nag-iintriga si Richard. Pero ako, I always look at 4 steps ahead, diba? And I'm very aware of these gradations. How do you think we can harmonize that? How do you think that should be harmonized? Do we need a new sambayan, one sambayan, mechanisms to bring things together? And do you think in the next Senate race, dapat 12 na, hindi lang dalawa or tatlo, diba? Na talagang full in na yung opposition for 2028.
Yeah, I think on that last issue, I think we have to fill the full Senate slate now, if because it's a presidential election, and Risa has been very consistent. She's been very clear in her position on
Right.
the West Philippine Sea, on the Pogo, on other things. Obama has not articulated it that clearly or precisely.
Yeah.
But he has to do that soon because West Philippine Sea is here. It's not going to go away. It will remain in the consciousness of the people, and he has to articulate his position. Huh? So, but it's too. We'll have to wait too early to say that. We have to choose now one over the other. No? So we just
Or
have
find
to,
a kind of a common position, right?
yeah.
Kasi BAM, very successful ng kanyang strategy, di ba? Parang, let's not get into contentious issues, focus tayo dun sa gut issues, education, youth, boom, it worked very well for him. But Risa could also make an argument, well, I mean, I also succeeded even if I raised those issues, key issues during my time, even tougher times. 2022 was way tougher than 2025. And, Risa also position could be like, hindi natin maiwasan. We have to talk about ICC soon. I mean, baka Bato gets a warrant of arrest tomorrow, right? We have to talk about, other issues soon. So you have to find some sort of harmonization of that, right? By the way, Justice, kamustang ICC? Let's go to the international final part of our discussion. Is the Karim Khan situation gonna be debilitating? Kasi sabi ng mga DDS, international law experts. Ito ulit yung Davao School of International Law, no? Yung sabi nila, ito yung Duterte effect na naganyan si Karim Khan. When, last time I checked, it's the effect of Trump trying to protect Netanyahu and sanctioning ICC, and next thing you know, Karim Khan is facing internal pro-4 allegations of abuse, but at the same time, he cannot use his email, accounts are being frozen, even American folks working in the ICC could face arrest back home. What is your read of that? Will ICC survive, or how should it survive? And does that mean na uwi na si Tatay Digong, or work from Hague? Work from Hague si Tatay Digong.
Well, I think the personal problem of Karim of Khan will not affect the case. I mean, there are other prosecutors there who are equally competent. So that's a completely separate case.
And in terms of the functioning of the ICC, U.S. sanctions and all, do you think that Europe can still continue to undergird the ICC? I was in Hungary just the other day, and they withdrew from the ICC because of their support for for the Israeli leaders and all of that. But it looks like the vast majority of the European, at least major countries, are still behind ICC.
Yeah, I think the Europeans, since that is really their project, will be behind the ICC. I don't think they will abandon it.
So in short, tuloy ang work from Hague ni Digong, Justice Carpio. Like, what did your kababayans in Davao vote for? Kasi may bato na, so may ano daw, cardboard. Kasi ano bang binoto nila kasi Digong is not coming home. It's like,
Well, it will be Baste who will be acting mayor.
yeah. And then si Omar ba yung akyat,
While
yung isa? Oo.
yeah, while Digong is there in The Hague.
Work from Hague. Sabi ko sa hindi yan ang bagong work from Hague. Talagang sarap buhay. Lastly, Justice, we were talking about China a while ago and the West Philippine Sea issue. Before elections, you saw a couple of big arrests, no, of alleged Chinese citizens or Chinese Filipino individuals allegedly involved in espionage activities. NBI, some of the top officials openly talking about interference, sharp power operations. General Bronner also last month said that dapat ingat tayo because ini-infiltrate na yung institutions natin. What is your read of this? How serious is this threat? And without naming names, do you think that China may have played a role in some candidates doing very, very well in this election cycle?
Well, you just have to assume because remember what Facebook did in 2022. Facebook delisted the accounts of Chinese trolls based in China who were using fake, fictitious names and spreading disinformation in the Philippines. No? So you just have to assume that they continue that and because you can see them these posts that are pro-China and pro-Duterte. No? It's still there, I think. That's why I think, if you recall, the SIM registration law included a provision, which I recommended to the Senate, that all those who use the platform of internet service providers must disclose their real name and address to the platform owner so that if somebody will complain because he was libeled, he
Right.
can sue that person. He will just ask for the real name and address. No? And former President Duterte vetoed the entire bill because of that provision. So that otherwise his trolls will be killed. So right now the trolls can still operate because there's no the service providers are not required to get the real name, and the service providers are just too happy if there are fictitious users because it generates traffic. They can charge more their advertisers.
Right.
So, but I think it's bad for society that this information is repeatedly circulated by these internet service providers. I mean, that should not be the policy of the law. So, I hope the current administration will reenact that law, standalone law now, no? So that at least we will know saan ba galing ito. Eh, mga pangalan nila, Boy Bukol. I was
Parang
told when I
minima,
was
Gimango.
I was told when I was a columnist of Inquirer, Boy Bukol would keep on attacking
Ay,
me.
kilala ko yan. Ano yan? Regular din sa ano ko yan.
So, but we all know that these are trolls. They're fictitious names. And why do we allow that? I mean, the public should not allow that. I mean, they should protest that. I mean, they are poisoning the discussion within the community.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of friends and OFWs from different countries, Denmark, among others, saying kung may magta-troll-troll ka sa mga ibang bansa na matino-tino, yari ka kagad, hahanapin ka eh. Um, just as I was actually analyzing it the other day and I was looking at ang bilis nung nag-consolidate ng support behind Bato and some of these candidates, not only in Mindanao but across the country. And then I was thinking about it kasi nag-Cali survey din ako, they were like talking to folks in across NCR and all. 'Di ba algorithm based ang mga social media platforms. So you had 6 years of Duterte just flooding millions of our kababayan with disinformation. And then you had 2 years of Uniteam before it fell apart. So imagine you had 8 years to create rabbit holes basically, 'di ba? So kaya kumbaga may captive audience ka na ngayon eh. So every time maglabas ng kung ano-anong disinformation ng mga DDS, immediately papasok na yan sa mga circles na yan eh. You know how do I know that? For instance, meron tayong mga pinsan na ayaw na kay Duterte pero bumoto kay Duterte noong 2016. Pero dahil nandun na sila sa Duterte era, yung kanilang Facebook and all automatically recommends to them anything that comes out of the Duterte camp. So, sabi niya, pinsan, balita ko dyan sa Philippines, ang dami na naman ng krimen and all. Sabi ko, saan mo kinukuha yan? Dito sa social media. So, ayan ka na naman, DDS ka na naman. Akala ko tapos ka na. Tapos sabi niya, oo nga, no. So, actually, na-realize ko, there are many people who are stuck still in that rabbit hole of DDS disinformation. Dahil 8 years yun eh. It's a decade-old machine of disinformation. So, kailangan mo talagang ano yan eh, reverse engineer yan or kalkalin yan, no?
Yeah, the solution is simple. Require the internet service provider to get the real name and address. And because if you are anonymous, you're not worried of being sued for libel. You just keep on attacking, and
Yeah.
there's no retribution. You will not be penalized. You will not be charged because they don't know you. You don't reveal your real identity.
And again, just to remind people, we are progressive liberals who are concerned about privacy rights and civil liberties. How do we make sure those things are not affected? How do we strike a balance?
Well, like for example, in newspapers, in print media, when you write a letter to the editor, you have to reveal your real name and your
Right.
address. Ganyan din dapat sa internet. I mean, it's just fair that when you write and attack somebody, not you should not hide behind an anonymous name, no? Because that's not being fair. So it's just fairness. Wala namang ano eh. There's it's natural. Sino nga atakihin niya? How will he defend himself?
Right.
So yung si Boy Bukol, binabanatan tayo palagi. We don't even bother anymore. Pero he keeps on writing, no?
Yeah. Si Boy Bocol, kailangan, siguro mataas ang sahod niya. Mas mataas siguro ang sahod niya kaysa sa atin. Justice, kasi mas marami siyang pinapost dyan sa site kaysa sa atin. Buti nga, Boy Bocol lang sa inyo. May Boko Boy, may Miggy Mango Boy. Ang dami kong nakita, may Dumdum
Ang dami
Boy.
nila. Ang dami. Ang dami talaga nila. Malaman mo lang because of their
Anonymity.
byline,
Yeah.
yung handle nila. Tsaka, the way they speaking the right English, mukhang balukit konti, no?
Yeah. Ayan na, Justice, baka ma-cancel tayo. But on that note, Justice Carpio, thank you so much for sharing your time. Maraming salamat. Is there anything you want to add, Justice Carpio, before we wrap up this, I would say, generally entertaining and informative discussion? You seem happy, Justice. I think we should be happy, no? Pleasantly surprised tayo.
Well, you just have to be happy. There's no, you will age faster if you look sad.
I was hoping more like happy, not because happy lang, because siguro medyo nag-pleasant surprise naman yung politika natin. But we have a lot of work on our lap, right? Ang dami natin kailangan gawin. Ang dami kailangan gawin nung mga nakapasok na progressives, di ba? Ang hirap nun. This is gonna be a tough position, but thanks to people like you, Justice Carpio, and our good supporters from all around the world, maraming na-inspire, maraming nag-inspire, and sana tuloy-tuloy lang energy niyan. Thank you so much, Justice Carpio, for joining us, and hope to see you soon after your much-deserved rest. Di na ako magbigay ng details. Baka hanapin ka ni Harry Roque. baka magabutan ka ni Harry Roque. Salamat, Justice. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you po. Alright, guys. Thank you so much again. Pasensya na. This was, sabi ko nga, I just as I promised you at Justice Carpio. O nga, wala pa tayong si Ronald Tiamas. Tingnan natin si Ronald, baka in person na lang. Ano kaya sasabihin ni Ronald? Kasi believe na believe siya dun sa sabi niya na walang pag-asa yung mga... But anyway, yeah, thank you so much again for supporting us, guys. For some reason, I don't know what's going on sa Facebook ko and all. So, na completely demonetizing Facebook natin. So, I think you can only send stars and all. So, for those who are hoping to support our little efforts and channels here, I really suggest you guys, if you're not into giving stars, please at least join us here on YouTube. Because at least YouTube, I really don't know what's going on with Facebook. It's really weird. One day your page is recommended, another day your page is not recommended. One day you're monetized, then demonetized. So it's a joke. And the algorithm on Facebook is also very bad. I remember very well, back in 2022 we were averaging 1 million views or something per video, and then now it's just like a completely different ballgame. I don't know what's going on. So I really suggest everyone to join us dito na lang sa YouTube. I think we're gonna consolidate more of our production here. And then dun sa mga member ng YouTube natin community, we have special productions, lectures, and all that will just be exclusive for the members. So at the price of a single, I don't know, espresso or Nespresso, you're more than happy to join our little community. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much. And